Good morning everyone. Thank you for attending the webinar that we had organized on Saturday. Close to 200 plus attendees had attended. From all the nooks and corners, from many of my physician friends and colleagues, I am getting requests for the video of that conference. Unfortunately, as you know, because it was a Zoom meeting and we wanted it to be interactive, the mics of couple of doctors were on, and those who were getting added later on, their mics were also on, and because of that there were a lot of noise disturbances. Unfortunately, the recorded material we could not send you because there is a lot of voice artifact in that. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to do a recap of the same discussion in short. The topic was when and how do I restart my medical practice, and we had very good input from Dr. Anand Ahuja, Dr. Hiten Karelia and Dr. Devesh Patel. He is VMS's Chief Coordinating Officer. So the first question was to Anand Ahuja, how and when do I resume my medical practice, OPD and IPD? He had very nicely elaborated the things. See, lockdown or not, if it is prolonged or it is opened up, it is now time that majority of us would be starting our OPD and IPD practice. And we don't need to wait indefinitely. Neither we should be too early in starting, neither too late to start. We should be very selective in OPD IPD. So what he had advised is you should have a high threshold for teleconsultations. Whenever you have a OPD appointment on call, try to assess whether it's an emergency or it's a routine follow-up. And if possible, if those are routine follow-ups like routine diabetic or antihypertensive medicine, you can ask them to buy it from a nearest pharmacy store and may not visit your facility. Alternatively, you can also do telemedicine. A lot of software are now available, and even your Google Paytime and Paytm apps can be used, and they can deposit their money in the Google Paytm or Google app, and you can consult them telephonically for routine things like blood pressure medicines, diabetes medicines, and the patients who are asymptomatic and want to come for routine follow-up. Yes, the patients who need consultation should definitely be called, and that should be given a proper appointment. Try not to call them haphazardly and create a mass or create a mob around your gate. See, routine and annual checkups should be avoided. Blood pressure, diabetes, routine testing, cholesterol, kidney or function test should be teleconsulted. So this was what was advised. So the gist would be you can definitely start your OPD, but keep the consultations to minimum, space out your OPD appointments and try to see that you are not overburdened with your patients. Second important question was, in my OPD I have a receptionist, a duty doctor and myself, and what are the PP recommendations? So normally I would like to go with the flow. So this was what the guidelines suggest. The screening OPD, you could have N95 mask, gloves. These are extensive guidelines. For COVID ICU, what we had tried to do was document what in short what we should be doing. First of all, there should be a person at the gate of your clinic or your hospital, and he should ask about the COVID questionnaire. This is the COVID questionnaire, whether he has fever, whether he has traveled, whether he is in close contact with any of the COVID positive patients. So if any of this questionnaire comes a yes, it is better to avoid this patient. It is better to ask this patient to go to a COVID designated hospital, be it government or a private setup, rather than risking ourselves. The second is, we also should create a form which says that it is a self declaration by the patient, which says that if I turn out to be COVID positive later on, or I would not blame the doctor or the hospital, I would not litigate the hospital or a doctor. This safeguards you legally. So what we have tried to simplify the PP recommendations are level 1 care, level 2 care and level 3 care. Level 1 care would be reception, billing, OPD, administrative staff, security and IPD. For them, the recommended PPE are a cap, a triple layer surgical mask, a gown, ideally a impervious gown, gloves. See, this is what the level 1 PPE should look like, and this can be worn by your reception staff, your security. The level 2 is in the wards. You're treating your nursing staff who's going to give parenteral or injectables,
and your ER technicians and dialysis. For them, the documented is a cap, a triple layer surgical mask, impermeable gown, goggles and shoe cover. Alternatively, you can also provide them with N95, though it is not recommended. See, this is the impervious gown that I was talking about. There's a glove, there's a triple layer mask, and you may also have a N95 mask as an added protection. So normally what we try to do is we try to do a screening OPD. Screening OPD is handled by a senior nurse or assistant doctor. He tries to have a brief history of the patient, and he also measures the vitals like pulse, blood pressure. After the screening OPD, the patient is brought to your cabin. What you should do is you should try not to touch the patient because already the vitals are taken. The patient should sit across the table and not besides you. The patient should be at least 3 feet away from you. After taking the history and relying on the history and vitals taken by your senior staff or assistant doctor, you prescribe the medicine. The pharmacist, while dispensing the medicine, should wear a triple layer mask and a rubber glove. For your HK staff who would be in charge of cleaning of your OPD, they should be given heavy duty safety gloves, and a plastic impermeable gown or plastic raincoat is also good enough. Before starting your OPD, they should be thorough cleaning of your OPD by 1% hypochlorite solution. It is recommended that you clear all your certificates, all your trophies, so that with one swipe you can clean the table, and these things may not be, because fomites can sit on these things, and therefore your certificates, your trophies all should be removed and your OPD should be clean. Level 3 PPE is for operative procedures, surgeons, isolation ICUs and ICUs, and that is would include N95 mask and cap, double gloves, face shield, shoe cover and a full gown, something like this. This is generally not required in routine OPD practice. The next question was to Dr. Hiten Karelia. Should all of my staff receive HCQ prophylaxis? See, there are lots of ifs and buts on this question. What the ICMR guidelines suggest is, if you can focus here, asymptomatic healthcare workers involved in the care of suspected or confirmed cases of COVID-19. Now with the spread going to the community, I think any patient coming to my OPD can be considered as a suspected. He could be harboring the COVID infection, and therefore yes, depending on your institutional policy, we would definitely advise that yes, your staff should be taking HCQ prophylaxis. The dosing is 800 milligram loading dose, and then once a week 400 milligram. Again, you should be very clear. You should focus upon the adverse effects and drug-drug interactions. You should, if the patient is having, if your staff is having any cardiac issue, then do a pre-HCQ prophylaxis ECG to look for QT interval. Again, many of our staffs are less than 50 kilogram of weight, so I think we can modify the dose. Instead of giving 800 milligram on a single dose, we can space the 800 milligram over 2 or 4 days, so that we prophylaxis, give them prophylaxis, but we also try to protect them against significant adverse effect of the HCQ. The third question which we had discussed with Dr. Hiten Karelia is the surgical perspective. When and how should we plan surgeries? What is the preparation of the operation theatre for the same? And is there any role of umbrella COVID testing for all the patients who are planned for surgery? Dr. Hiten has clearly cited two main publications. One was about this, which says that testing can be beneficial, but the latest guideline which he had quoted on 23rd of April by the associations of various associations of surgical people around India, they have formulated a simple chart. Like, first of all, the surgeon should ask the question, is the surgical emergency, is the condition life-threatening and surgery would save the life? Yes, then go ahead with the surgery and try to assure proper PPE of your attending staff, yourself and your anesthetist. If it is not an emergency, then the next question that you should ask is, would it impact the survival? If I postpone the surgery for 3 months, would it impact the survival? For example, in some cancer cases, would it impact the survival? Would it spread? Again, if the answer is yes, you feel that it is not wise in your clinical acumen, you feel that it is not wise to postpone the surgery for 3 months, go ahead with the surgery, take proper precautions for yourself, your anesthetist and your staff. If yes, impact would not be there by delaying the surgery for 3 months, better would be to delay, or you try to see whether there is an alternative available. If there is an alternative available, yes, delay the surgery. But no, you feel that it should be done, then form a specialist opinion. Take a team into consideration. That team should consist of the surgeon, the anesthetist, infection specialist if possible, and try to find out the best strategy which would help the patient, at the same time safeguard yourself and your anesthetist and your surgical team. If after discussion with your team you have decided no, that the surgery is to be taken, then this is a phase-wise infection control which should be followed by majority of the surgeons. First of all, a checklist is to be prepared by the OT staff, the instruments and the PPE. The anesthetist team is the first team which enters the operative theatre. Regional anesthesia should be preferred as compared to general anesthesia. Once the anesthetist team is ready, after 15 minutes, once everything is ready, the surgical team enters. The surgical team should try to minimize surgical duration, should try to minimize the use of energy devices, should try to minimize the use of devices which would increase the aerosol. Once the surgery is over, there is an exit strategy also. First of all, the surgical team would exit, the operative team should exit. Ideally, extubate the patient and then only shift the patient if possible. After the patient is shifted, the anesthetic team will exit and then the OT staff will exit. This is the exit strategy. Once everyone has exited, the cleaning and disinfection of the OT should be carried out. It should be first deep cleaned with hypochlorite solution, and then your routine fogging and your routine disinfecting procedure should be carried out. So these are the phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5 of a surgical procedure, if at all it needs to be taken. Remember, safety is most important. The third question which many of us had raised during our chat, and we had directed this question to the doctor from VMSS, Dr. Devesh Patel, was, for example, I consulted a patient for routine diabetic medicines and hypertension, and 3 days later I found out that he is tested COVID positive and in a quarantine facility. What implications would it have to me, my staff and my hospital? So here the government is very clear. Again, today we had a press release by our CM, Mr. Rupani, also Vijay Rupani, that if the staff and the doctor is donning proper PPE as per guidelines, neither the staff nor the doctor would be quarantined, and the hospital would also not be sealed. Yes, the hospital should definitely take proper anti-infective measures. They should sterilize, disinfect the hospital before restarting the OPD. So the suggestion was, take proper safety precautions for yourself and the future patients who are going to come, and other than that, no major implications would be there on you or your staff. So this was in short the take-home messages of that day's webinar. Along with this take-home messages, we are also going to provide you with the link of the PowerPoint presentation displayed on that day. I wish everyone would be happy with this, and I wish everyone would start their practice with all the safety precautions, and wish you all the best.